All right, today we're diving into a fungus that's getting a ton of buzz in the science world. And for a really good reason. It's all about its potential to protect, and maybe even boost, our most important organ. Yep, the brain. We are talking about lion's mane.
I mean, think about it. Could a mushroom really be a key player in the future of our brain health? It sounds a little out there, right? But as we're all looking for more natural ways to stay healthy, scientists are actually taking a serious look at ancient remedies like this one. So, let's break down what the science actually says.
So this is it, Hericium arenaceus. And you can totally see why it has all those cool names, right? With those long, white, cascading spines, it looks just like a lion's mane, or maybe a cheerleader's pom-pom. But trust me, its unique look is just the very beginning of its story.
Okay, so what is the secret sauce here? What gives this mushroom its amazing reputation for boosting the brain? Well, it all comes down to what's inside, what you could call its incredible bioactive toolkit. It's a collection of really powerful compounds that do some very specific things.
First things first, we got to talk about something called nerve growth factor, or NGF for short. Now, the easiest way to think about it is it's like fertilizer for your brain cells. NGF is this super important protein that helps your neurons grow, stay healthy, and just plain survive. It's absolutely critical for things like learning, memory, all the important stuff.
Right. So, that leads to the million-dollar question. How on earth does a mushroom help your brain make more of this crucial fertilizer? Our bodies already make NGF, but it turns out lion's mane has these special compounds that can actually stimulate our brains to produce even more. And this is where the mushroom's unique chemistry really starts to shine.
Okay, so the power here really comes from two main groups of compounds, hericenones and arenacenes. The hericenones, you'll find those in the fruiting body. That's the shaggy, mane-like part of the mushroom you actually see. But the arenacenes, they're found down in the mycelium, which is basically the complex root-like network that grows underground or inside the wood.
Now this is where it gets really interesting. Check out the difference between these two. Both of them stimulate the production of that all-important nerve growth factor, but the arenacenes have a kind of superpower. They are incredibly potent stimulators, and they're small enough to cross what's called the blood-brain barrier. And that is a huge deal. It means they can get directly into your brain to do their job, which is a massive, massive advantage for any compound trying to help out your neurons.
And believe it or not, the toolkit doesn't even stop there. Lion's mane is also loaded with other goodies. We're talking beta-glucans, which are fantastic for supporting your immune system. It's got phenolic compounds, which are basically powerful antioxidants. And then there's this amino acid called ergothioneine, which some scientists have even nicknamed the longevity vitamin. I mean, this is one seriously multi-talented fungus.
So we've talked a lot about the brain, but these benefits aren't just stuck in your head. The very same compounds make lion's mane a pretty amazing defender for your whole body, especially when it comes to tackling inflammation.
So how does it pull this off? Well, studies show it has this cool three-step approach. First, it helps block this key inflammation pathway called NF-kappa B. Just think of that as the master switch for inflammation in your body. So by flipping that switch off, it then dials down all the pro-inflammatory signals that would normally cause problems. And finally, it helps lower the oxidative stress that's almost always tied to chronic inflammation. Pretty smart, right?
And all of this together creates this amazing spectrum of benefits. You've got the anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties working as a team to protect your cells from damage. Then you've got its antimicrobial activity. And it even supports gut health, which, as we're learning more and more, is connected to just about everything, from your immune system right up to your mood.
And get this, its antimicrobial power is actually surprisingly strong. Research has found it's active against nasty bacteria like H. pylori, that's the one linked to stomach ulcers, and even more impressively, it's shown activity against MRSA, the infamous antibiotic-resistant staph bacteria. That's pretty wild for a mushroom.
Okay, so this all sounds amazing in a lab, but the real question is, what happens when you take it out of the test tube and into the real world? Let's talk about the human studies, because that's where the rubber really meets the road.
And you know what? The results so far are definitely promising. There was one really important study with older adults who had mild cognitive impairment, and it found that those taking lion's mane showed significant cognitive improvements. Other early research suggests it might help with symptoms in early-stage Alzheimer's, and one small study even reported it helped reduce anxiety and depression.
So with all that, you're probably thinking, is this some kind of miracle cure? What's the catch? And that's exactly the right question to ask.
Because before we get carried away, it is so important to look at the full picture. The scientific community is definitely excited, but they're also being cautious, and for some very good reasons.
Yeah, there are a few scientific hurdles we need to talk about. For one, a lot of the human trials so far have been pretty small, and they haven't run for very long. And in that big study on mild cognitive impairment, the benefits actually faded away after people stopped taking the supplement. Plus, and this is a big one, there's a real lack of standardization. That means the amount of those key compounds, the hericenones and erinacines, can vary wildly from one product to another. So, where does that leave us? What's the future for this fungus? Well, lion's mane clearly has some incredible potential, but the science is very much still a work in progress. The general feeling is a mix of real optimism and a clear call for more, better research.
In this quote from a scientific review really sums it up perfectly. Even with all these promising findings, the clinical validation just isn't there yet. The path forward is all about prioritizing large-scale clinical trials to see if this stuff can really be integrated into evidence-based medicine. That's the next big step.
So here's the final takeaway on where lion's mane stands today. On one hand, it is absolutely a promising candidate. It's packed with these unique compounds that we know have real biological effects, especially when it comes to firing up that nerve growth factor. But on the other hand, it's very much a work in progress. It really needs those bigger human trials and some serious product standardization before we can truly know its full potential.
You know, the story of lion's mane is just such a perfect example of modern science rediscovering the pharmacy that's always been right here in nature. And it really leaves you with a fascinating question, doesn't it? As we keep exploring, what other incredible breakthroughs are just out there, hiding in plain sight, waiting for us to find them?